The most explosive moments in entertainment happen when someone finally says what everyone's been thinking, but nobody's been brave enough to voice. They happen when respected figures stop being diplomatic and start being honest. They happen when legends decide that some things are more important than maintaining friendly relationships with powerful people. Denzel Washington had reached that point, and Stephen Colbert was about to discover what happens when you push someone past their tolerance for political games disguised as entertainment. Denzel Washington, everybody, Stephen announced with his trademark enthusiasm. The man who makes every other actor look like they're just playing dress-up. Denzel, great to have you here. Denzel's smile was polite but measured, his voice carrying that distinctive gravitas. Thanks for having me, Stephen. So your new film deals with some heavy themes about justice and redemption. In times like these, with everything happening politically, don't you think artists have a responsibility to take clearer stands on the issues dividing our country? The question seemed innocent enough, but Denzel's expression shifted slightly. Stephen, I think artists have a responsibility to tell truthful stories that bring people together, not drive them apart. Stephen leaned forward with that mock-serious expression he used when making political points. But surely you'd agree that some issues are too important for neutrality? I mean, when democracy itself is under attack. Democracy is under attack. Denzel interrupted, something that caught Stephen completely off guard. Stephen, let me ask you something. How is democracy under attack exactly? Stephen looked genuinely surprised by the direct challenge. Well, I mean, with voter suppression, with the threats to democratic institutions. Which institutions? Denzel's voice carried a new authority that made everyone pay attention. Because from where I sit, our democratic institutions seem to be working exactly as designed. People vote, representatives get elected, laws get passed, courts make decisions. What am I missing? The studio was getting noticeably quieter. This wasn't the conversation Stephen had planned. Denzel, surely you can see the erosion of democratic norms. Democratic norms like what? Denzel stood up slowly, his presence suddenly commanding the intimate studio space. Like comedians telling half the country that they're threats to democracy? Like entertainers dividing Americans into good guys and bad guys based on their political opinions? Stephen tried to laugh it off, but his confidence was shaking. I'm just trying to call out. You're trying to create content. Denzel cut him off with surgical precision. You're turning political differences into entertainment and calling it moral courage. The audience was dead silent now, witnessing something unprecedented. Stephen, I've been watching your show for months. Every night, the same formula. Make jokes about people you disagree with. Paint them as evil or stupid or dangerous. Get applause from an audience that already agrees with you. Rinse and repeat. Stephen's trademark wit had completely abandoned him. That's exactly what you do. Denzel walked around Stephen's desk with controlled intensity. And you've convinced yourself that this division, this contempt, this daily dose of political hatred is somehow serving America. The studio was electric with tension. This had gone way beyond normal late-night banter. But here's what you don't understand, Stephen. Real Americans, the ones not performing for cameras, they're tired of being told they're enemies of democracy because they disagree with your politics. Denzel faced the cameras directly, speaking to millions of viewers with the authority of someone who'd earned respect through decades of work. They're tired of comedians lecturing them about morality while profiting from division. They're tired of entertainers who think making jokes about serious issues makes them political experts. Stephen tried desperately to regain control. I'm not claiming to be a political expert. Aren't you? Denzel's voice rose with controlled passion. You spend an hour every night telling Americans what to think about politics, who to vote for, which opinions are acceptable. If that's not claiming expertise, what is it? He walked closer to Stephen's desk, his presence overwhelming. You know what's really under attack in America, Stephen? It's not democracy. It's unity. It's the idea that Americans can disagree politically and still respect each other as human beings. The studio was completely silent except for the sound of a legend finally speaking his mind. And people like you are destroying that unity. Every night, you teach Americans to hate their neighbors, to view political differences as moral failures, to see fellow citizens as enemies instead of family. Stephen looked genuinely shaken. I don't tell people to hate anyone. You don't have to say it explicitly, Denzel replied with devastating calm. You do it through mockery, through contempt, through the daily message that people who disagree with you are somehow lesser Americans. He grabbed his jacket from the back of his chair, preparing for his exit. You want to know what's really dangerous to democracy, Stephen? It's not political disagreement. It's the death of civil discourse. It's the end of respectful debate. It's entertainers who profit from making Americans hate each other. As he put on his jacket, Denzel delivered his most powerful statement. I've spent 40 years in this business, Stephen. I've worked with people from every political background, every belief system, every walk of life. And you know what I've learned? The studio held its breath. I've learned that most Americans are good people who want the same basic things: safety for their families, opportunity for their children, respect for their communities. But they're being told by people like you that their neighbors are threats, that their fellow citizens are enemies, that political differences make them incompatible as Americans. His voice carried across the studio with absolute conviction. And that's not just wrong, Stephen. It's dangerous. Because when you convince people that their political opponents are evil, you're not protecting democracy. You're destroying the social fabric that makes democracy possible. Denzel walked toward the exit, then turned back one final time. To everyone watching who's tired of being told that disagreeing politically makes you enemies, it doesn't. You can love your country and disagree about how to govern it. You can respect your neighbors and vote differently. You can be Americans together despite your political differences. His voice grew stronger with each word. Don't let comedians convince you that division is strength. Don't let entertainers profit from your hatred of fellow Americans. Don't let people who make money from conflict tell you that unity is impossible. He looked directly at Stephen for the last time. And to the hosts, the comedians, the entertainers who think political division is just content for your shows, you're wrong. It's not entertainment when you're tearing the country apart. It's not comedy when you're teaching Americans to hate each other. The moment Denzel left, Stephen sat in stunned silence. For the first time in his career, he had no comeback, no joke, no way to deflect what had just happened. The audience didn't know whether to applaud or sit quietly. The production staff was frozen behind the cameras. Finally, Stephen managed to whisper, "We're going to take a commercial break." But the damage was already done. Clips were going viral within minutes. Hashtag Denzel vs. Colbert was exploding across social media. But this time the conversation was different. Within hours, something unprecedented happened. Americans from across the political spectrum were sharing Denzel's message. Conservatives praised him for speaking truth to liberal entertainment power. But surprisingly, many liberals also found themselves agreeing with his call for unity over division. The clip became the most watched late-night television moment in history, but not for the usual reasons. People weren't sharing it to mock anyone. They were sharing it because it expressed something they'd been feeling but couldn't articulate. Multiple celebrities came forward to support Denzel's message about unity over division. Politicians from both parties began referencing his comments. Religious leaders praised his call for treating fellow Americans with respect despite political differences. Stephen Colbert's ratings initially dropped as viewers began questioning whether nightly political division was really entertainment they wanted in their lives. Other late-night hosts found themselves having to defend their own political content. But more importantly, Denzel's message sparked a broader conversation about the role of entertainment in political discourse. Town halls began focusing on finding common ground. Community leaders started emphasizing shared values over political differences. The entertainment industry itself began quietly reevaluating whether political division was sustainable as a business model when audiences were clearly hungry for unity instead of conflict. The lasting legacy. Denzel Washington had walked into that studio as a respected actor promoting his latest film. He walked out as something much more significant, a voice of unity in an age of manufactured division. A reminder that Americans have more in common than the entertainment industry wants them to believe. The revolution wasn't just in watching a legend defend unity over division. It was in recognizing that audiences were tired of being taught to hate each other for entertainment purposes. Stephen Colbert learned that lesson in front of millions of people who suddenly realized they didn't have to choose between loving their country and hating their neighbors. The most powerful message wasn't political. It was human. Americans can disagree and still be Americans. Neighbors can vote differently and still be neighbors. Families can have different politics and still be family. Denzel Washington had reminded everyone of that simple truth. And sometimes, simple truths are the most revolutionary things you can say, especially when everyone's forgotten them. The legend had spoken. America had listened. And unity, for the first time in years, didn't seem impossible, just forgotten, until someone brave enough finally reminded everyone what they'd lost.